T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. He's your only black friend, so he's your best black friend. I want to trade him for another black friend, because black friends are rare, as you should be aware. He smiles like Richard Pryor, so just sit and stare. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.
Hello everybody, this is Tyler Preston20. So today I'm going to do like a live stream just talking about the various news stuff that's interests me for this week. And so without further hesitation, let us begin with some news that is really light before we go into the dark stuff, because the light news is always more fun to talk about in comparison to what's going on in the real world. Now, the first major news, of course, has to be from the acquisition firm Activision Blizzard. Let's see, the creators of Call of Duty, Warcraft, Candy Crush, Tony Hawk, Diablo, Overwatch, Spyro, Hearthstone, Guitar Hero, Crash Bandicoot, StarCraft, and more joined Team Xbox. As a team, we're on a mission to extend the joy and community of gaming to everyone on the planet. We all know that gaming is the most vibrant and dynamic form of entertainment worldwide, and we experience the power of social connection and friendship that gaming makes possible. As we pursue that mission, it's incredibly exciting to announce that Microsoft has agreed to acquire Activision Blizzard. Over many decades, the studios and teams that make up Activision Blizzard has earned vast wellsprings of joy and respect from billions of people all over the world. We're extremely excited to have the chance to work with the amazing, talented, dedicated people across Activision Publishing, Blizzard Entertainment, Beenox, Demonware, Digital Legends, High Moon Studios, Infinity War, Kings, Major League Gaming, Radical Entertainment, Raven Studios, Sledgehammer Games, Toy for Bob, Triac, and every team across Activision Blizzard. Until this transaction closes, Activision Blizzard and Microsoft Gaming will continue to operate independently. Once the deal is completed, the Activision Blizzard business will report to me as CEO Microsoft Gaming. So, more or less, this is like the biggest news for gaming. And I'm going to tell you why this is like the biggest news. For starters, from what I read so far, Microsoft purchased Activision Blizzard for like 69 point whatever billion dollars. That's like a lot of money for this one entire publishing studios. And not just that though, but the amount of IPs that Microsoft just acquired is humongous now in comparison to before. Like earlier prior to this acquisition for Microsoft, what they did was that they had the money to spend for what was it? I think it was Bethesda Studios that they acquired prior to this acquisition. And so they have all the major shooters nowadays are really popular under this acquisition, because they have Call of Duty, they also have Halo, they also have Overwatch, they also have Doom, they have Wolfenstein, and so all the major shooters are now underneath Microsoft. And not just that though, but also for the popular RPG stuff from Bethesda Studios, like the Elderly Squirrel games, like of course, that's also coming from Microsoft. And so my biggest question is like what kind of games that Microsoft is going to keep for their Xbox and what they're not going to keep. Mostly because I feel as though that some of the games might be like on other systems, while other games would be like on the Xbox. Like I know for a fact, of course, like Crash Bandicoot is like one of the IPs that was thanks to this acquisition. And so I'm kind of curious, will Crash Bandicoot be like under PlayStation and then some games not under PlayStation? And so I'm kind of curious about that kind of aspect. But not just that though. But I'm kind of curious, like, does this whole entire acquisition also came about during the same sort of reasoning, like, what happened with the accusations against the company? Because they were accused of sexual harassment and all that kind of jazz. And apparently, like, the boss had, like, a history of being, like, a really terrible person. And so I'm kind of curious with this news of accusation. I think, of course, like, one day, they're probably going to clean up the whole entire room. But I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. That's great news. Great news. Of course, of course. I hope someday like the Final Fantasy 7 remake appears on Xbox. Sure, of course, of course. Hello everybody. Hey man, how you doing? Welcome to the live stream. But I'm not sure like the whole entire news about, Microsoft and Xbox. I feel as though that of course I'm gonna just maybe look at the whole entire process. So it's pretty interesting. Let's see. Just give me Crash and Spiral on PlayStation and Xbox. Keep the rest. Yeah, man. Yeah, that is true, man. That is really true. But then, like the big story besides the Xbox is, of course, the king of the monsters himself, Godzilla. And so let's look at the news about Godzilla because this news is actually pretty humongous. Like it's probably the biggest news that came out for the franchise for this year. Godzilla and Kaiju Monster TV series in the works from Legendary and Apple. Sci-fi vet Chris Black, who worked on Star Trek Enterprise, and comic book author Matt Fraction are co-creators of the show based upon the legendary creature Monster on the Loose movies known as the Monsterverse. Let's see, this comes directly from the Hollywood Reporter, so it's like they were the ones reporting it right now. The big screen world of Godzilla and the legendary Monsterverse is getting the small screen treatment. ABC Apple TV has partnered with Legendary for a new original live action show, and this giant advertisement just came across the screen. Based upon the creatures and the mysterious monster tracking organization seen in the popular films. Hailing from Legendary Television, the show will be executive produced by Chris Black, the sci-fi veteran behind Star Trek Enterprise, and Robert Kirkman's series Outcast, and Matt Fraction, best known for his award-winning comic book series such as Marvel Comics' Hawkeye. The two will act as the show co-creators, with Black as the showrunner. Also executive producing are Safe House Pictures, Zobi Howard and Tori Tenel, as well as these other Japanese people from Toho Studios. Toho Studios is the owner of Godzilla and other characters. Legendary has been unleashing Godzilla monsters since 2014's Godzilla. After the first film, it began building a cinematic universe of monsters that included King Kong, now owned by Toho Studios, as well as giant monster beings known as the Titans, kaiju that come underneath the Earth crust to wreak havoc on human civilization. The cinematic universe included 2017's Kong Skull Island, 2019's Godzilla King of the Monsters, and 2020's Godzilla vs. Kong. Collectively, the movies have stomped close to about $22 billion globally at the box office. And so that's like the biggest news, really, really big news. So that's pretty cool. Hello for the UK, just got here. Hey, man. Yeah, it's for Apple, man. It's for Apple. Hold on for a second, guys. I got to comment about this. So, yes, more or less, this TV series is for Apple only. Like the 4 other TV shows for the Godzilla franchise was for Netflix, but instead of Netflix, they decided to go with Apple because, from what I understand so far, it's not like what was it, Warner Brothers that owned the whole entire franchise. No, it was actually Legendary Pictures that has the rights to the franchise, and that Warner Brothers is just a distributor. And so, more or less, what they're trying to do is to, choose the platform that they want. And so that's why it's coming to Apple platforms instead of, Netflix. But not just that, though, but like the older Godzilla movies are on a different service too. Well, besides, of course, the Netflix series, they're on like, HBO Max. And so that's at least three different platforms that you have to go to get all the whole entire, Godzilla content. And so that's kind of wild, man. You have to pay at least three different services just to, get the whole entire content. But also, here's some sort of, rumor that I spotted too for this whole entire plot synopsis. Is actually, from some sort of Facebook post. Again, it's not confirmed either way. But according to the Facebook post, let's try to load it up right here. It goes into like some sort of details of what we're gonna expect for this whole entire series. So let me bring it up right here. All right, there it is. Now this Facebook post says, hold on, it's loading up right now. Why is it loading up? Wait a second, this post goes across as spam. Are you kidding me? There was like some sort of post, I swear, it was like going to like a lot of details because, it was saying that more or less they're gonna have like total monsters as part of the series. That was the post was gonna say. And so I'm kind of curious, what kind of monsters are gonna have. Is it gonna be like, the what was it, Jet Guitar or like, the Gigan monsters or whatever kind of monsters in the franchise. So let's see. Also, where is owned by Microsoft? Remember Banjo Kazooie? That's true. And so it's like, yeah, they have Crash Bandicoot. They have, of course, yeah, Banjo Kazooie. They have Spyro the Dragon. They have Conker. So they pretty much have like all the major mascots that were from the different systems during that time period. But yeah, that was actually, the biggest like, news that's been going on. But like, there's also been some of the stuff that's been going on with like M&Ms. Because more or less, like they actually have some sort of announcement for like, diverse M&Ms. And it's actually pretty funny to see that. And so let's look at the video that I spotted on like it was like on Twitter about the M&M stuff because man, I just could not believe that they actually, were going into like a lot of details about the M&Ms and how diverse the M&Ms are going to be. And so let's see the video from the M&M stuff and check it out. It's gonna load up at like right here. It's gonna probably take a few seconds. Hold on, I'm gonna refresh it. But yeah, there was like some sort of meeting that the M&M's companies did where they're gonna be like more diverse. I'm gonna check out if like the sound is actually gonna work for the video. So let me try to connect the sound to it. All right, so let's listen to the video. I'm not gonna talk anymore.
Thing in common. M&M's is on a mission to create a world where everyone feels they belong. We're wanting to start a movement to remind everyone that despite our differences, we have an incredibly powerful thing in common as a community, which is the power of fun. It's actually a reaffirmation, a concrete commitment to what we've always believed as a brand, that the power of fun is the most important way that we can help people feel included and increase that sense of belonging. So as an iconic brand that's been around for actually over 80 years, it's really important that we're evolving over time as well. And one of the most powerful ways we can do that is through our beloved characters. You'll see them as we've done a deep look at them both inside as well as out in terms of reflecting new looks, personalities, and backstories. For example, Green, you'll see her better reflect empowerment and confidence and be known for more than just her shoes. You're going to see Green and Brown together being a supporting force for women who are throwing shine and not shade. You'll also see Orange really embrace his true self, worries and all, and not be afraid to express it. We actually know Orange is the most relatable of our characters in the crew. It's based on some conversations we've had with Gen Z, which we know is the most anxious generation. And beyond our characters, you'll see things such as our increased color palette, as well as the different sizes and shapes of our lentils. And a personal favorite of mine, more of an emphasis on the ampersand. It's a
Yeah, apparently more or less like they're saying like the old designs for M&Ms is like, sexist and that they need to be more inclusive for like these sort of type of M&Ms. Like yeah, exactly man, like M&Ms already are, diverse. They are color of like the rainbow. Exactly. But it's not the Eminem stuff that's stupid to me. Like, of course, the woke stuff is kind of stupid, but like what's silly to me is that they're using that whole entire woke stuff as a distraction to what's really happening behind the scenes, because like Mars, Nelsie, as well as Hershey will not promise that chocolate is not free from child labor. Now, the largest chocolate companies promised to eradicate child labor from their supply chains 20 years ago. But today, these same companies say they cannot guarantee that the chocolate you buy is free from child labor. A key ingredient is chocolate. Cocoa is harvested in the farms of the Ivory Coast. And many of the young boys engaged in this dangerous labor come from neighboring like Burkina Faso. About two-thirds of the world's cocoa supplies come from West Africa. In 2015, the U.S. Labor Department reported that more than 2 million children were performing dangerous labor to harvest cocoa. These children were swinging machetes, carrying heavy loads, spraying parasites, and all the considered the worst form of child labor underneath international laws. When asked to spring representative of some of the biggest and known brands, Hershey, Mars, and Nurse's, could not guarantee that any of their chocolate were produced without child labor. I'm not going to make those claims, an executive at the large chocolate company said. One reason that nearly 20 years of pleading to eradicate child labor, chocolate companies still cannot identify the farms where they get all their cocoa from, let them know whether child labor was used in producing it. Mars, the makers of M&Ms and Milky Way, can only trace 20% of its cocoa back to farms. Hershey, the makers of Kisses and Reese's, less than half. Nestle can trace like 90% of its global cocoa supply to farms. So yes, more or less, like a lot of these companies are using child labor to produce the candies. All the Hershey's Kisses, all that kind of stuff is from child labor that comes directly from Africa. But you see, guys, the most important thing ever for everybody to know is how diverse and how special the M&Ms really are. Oh man, like that's like very silly. All this like silly stuff, like they try to save face about the lawsuit that they're gonna have in the future about the whole entire child labor, because more or less they know they're like in big trouble, and so that's why they're putting on the whole entire space of how diverse the M&Ms really are. So I'm not really surprised about this whole entire thing. But more so to the point, like there's this campaign on social media that I really want to show you guys. Because more or less, the campaign is to hashtag shut up gringo. Now, why is like the whole entire hashtag shut up gringo? Well, more or less, there has been a series of campaigns that more or less where a lot of people on Twitter are targeting, of course, these sort of Japanese artists. Like there was like a Japanese guy that made some sort of cartoon about like Native Americans, and then there was some other guy that was also making some sort of drawing for Wooster Fighter or something. And this is like another example of a whole entire group of people trying to attack somebody just because they do some sort of drawing. And so let me try to show you guys like what happened here. So more or less, this is the drawing that the Japanese guy did. He goes by Kurobe613, and he made this whole entire drawing based upon the whole entire movie called like Encanto, which more or less takes place in Colombia, right? That's the whole entire thing for the movie. And there's like nothing wrong with this whole entire drawing at all. There's like literally nothing wrong with the drawing. But then people like this stated out loud, yeah, so how long has this movie been out? You got all the details on Maribel's dress, but not her skin tone. And so more or less, they're trying to argue that the whole entire, painting was like proof of colorism. And so on social media, the guy got so harassed by so many people that he decided to take down a whole entire drawing just because it was not the right sort of skin tone per se as they claim. And of course naturally like a lot of people had like a lot of crazy stuff right here. This is really the Encanto creative team's fault because Peepa was originally going to have brown skin like her siblings and her parents, but no, they just had to make her a token white character because, God forbid, Disney make a story where white people aren't relevant in any way. Now, it's kind of strange to me, this whole entire argument. Mostly because in like Latin American families, like more or less, they're like, mixed. Because like a lot of, what happened in the past with the Spanish colonization, of course, like a lot of people were mixed. And so it's not necessarily uncommon to find people that have like different skin colors in the whole entire, family for Latino people. And so it doesn't, make sense to complain about that. Basically, like here's like another one right here. Pepe was clearly supposed to be brown skinned, but instead they made her white. If they wanted to represent all Colombians, they should have added a new white Colombian main character instead of whitewashing one of the characters of their own. But it's not whitewashing. Like the voice actress is actually like light skinned if I'm not mistaken. It's like, that person was light skinned. Now this guy right there, this person right here, says that saying like gringo is the same thing like the N-word. I'm like, dude, that is not even true. Not in the slightest. Like, for starters, gringo means foreigner, specifically a foreigner that's outside of the United States, right? And so, how can someone make like such a comparison to the N-word? It's like completely different. Like, back in the 1700s, right? In like Spain, they used the word griego to refer to, people that spoke a language that was not Spanish, right? And so anything that was not Spanish, they referred to it as griego. And as griego, kept being used, they referred to it as gringo, right? And so during the Mexican American War, there was like a lot of conflict, right? And so one way that they used the word gringo, it was like, they refer to the uniforms that the soldiers wore, and it's like gringo, gringo, gringo. And that's how the word was developed. But like it refers to any sort of foreigner that's not, from like a Latin American country. And so they refer to it as like the N word. I'm not sure, man. That's like way too far. Like way, way, way too far. And I agree, like gringo is not a slur, straight up cryberry. It's like exactly, man. Like that was like absolutely crazy. Now this one says why Latinos shouldn't call black people gringo a thread. Coming from a Mexican person. Let's read the whole thing, please. Let's start with the origin of gringo. Gringo was first created during the Mexican American War. It was used to spite the white Americans at that time. Now, Latinos shouldn't call people gringo. Calling a black person gringo is essentially calling them the N word. It doesn't matter if you meant it or not. That's how it's being interpreted. It also whitewashes the black people because of the origin. Oh my goodness, man. That is so funny. So, calling black people gringo gringo as a white Hispanic makes some of us extremely uncomfortable, but it's a thread. Some non-black Hispanics need to relax. No one is saying that gringo gringo is a slur. What we're trying to say is that it makes us uncomfortable because you're trying to say to replace it with nigga, and especially in that context that you're using it in. No, absolutely not, man. Like, absolutely no. No. Big companies are not your friend. I absolutely agree. Look at Joss Whedon, proud male feminist cheating on his wife. Yeah, absolutely, man. But like here's like a story in two parts. This person says right here. It was like that original treat, and I guess that person they're trying to say like because that person has like a lighter skin, they shouldn't comment. But dude, like it's not just the lighter skin Latinos that say gringo. All people, no matter their background, who are Latinos say gringo. And so I'm not sure what's the point right here. I am not sure what is the point right here. Let's see. I have a theory that people that grew up in Latin America cannot see the impacts of whitewashing because they have not experienced racism from a white American firsthand. As to someone who's of color and grew up in the US know firsthand how whitewashing can be. I'm sorry, but how exactly is that picture whitewashing? It looks almost the exact same thing as the whole entire drawing for the freaking Encanto movie. Like, this is stupid. Oh my goodness. Like that's why the whole entire Shut Up Gringo stuff was, trending on Twitter. But like it got worse from that, like really worse. Because like I think one of the person was actually doxxed. So let me try to find a tweet for that. Because it was like because that whole entire light skinned person, said like, gringo, like that person got doxxed for doing that. And so yeah, right here. Like here's the whole entire thing. Like they got their IP address right there. They got the host name, they got the type, they got the continent code, they have like the country code, the country name, the region code, the region name, the city, the zip code, the longitude, the latitude. So more or less, because that person like laughed at that person for comparing the gringo word with the N word, they got doxxed on freaking Twitter. That is insane. That is really like insane, yeah. But like, there's a cartoon that also kind of illustrates the point about this whole entire campaign. That is also I thought it was pretty funny. So I'm gonna load up the cartoon and show you guys like how the cartoon looks like. So the cartoon is right here. And let me try to load it up, make it bigger. African Americans are not gringos. That slur is only for white people. Well, you were born in USA. You cry over everything. You think the world revolves around you. What do you think, my staring pal? Chocolate color doesn't take away from the gringo from her. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's like, crazy. That's scary as F. I agree, man. I agree, man. All right, so let's see. One more story, and I'm gonna, sign off. Like, yeah, one more story, and I'm gonna sign out. Now let's talk about critical race theory. Because that's like everybody's favorite topic, like critical race theory this, critical race theory that. So let's share the window right here. Because more or less, critical race theory is like one of the twinning topics that's going on right now. So, according to the Associated Press, it says that a Florida bill will prohibit public schools and private businesses from making white people feel discomfort when they teach students or train employees about discrimination in the nation past received its first approved on Tuesday. Now, this whole entire article seemed like a whole entire disinformation campaign, mostly because, like, wanting to not have CRT in classrooms is not the exact same thing as removing history. And so let's load up the bill and just see what the bill looks like before we, judge the whole entire thing based entirely off the headline. And so the whole entire thing is loading up right now, and here we are. Here's like the whole entire bill. So right here it says, and I'm going to read it out loud. Subjugating any individual as a condition of employment, membership, certification, licensee, credentialing, or like passing an examination to training, instruction, or any required activity that espouses, promotes, advances, includes, or compels such individual to believe any of the following concept constitutes discrimination based upon race, color, sex, or national origin underneath this section. Members of one race, color, sex, or national origin are morally superior to members of another race, color, sex, or national origin. Number two, an individual by virtue of his or her race, color, sex, or national origin is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive, whether consciously or unconsciously. Number three, an individual moral character or status that's either privileged or oppressed is necessarily determined by his or her race, sex, or national origin. Number four, a member of one race, color, sex, or national origin cannot and should not attempt to be treated others without respect to race, color, sex, or national origin. Number five, an individual by the virtue of his or her skin, race, color, or national origin bear responsibility for or should be discriminated against or receive adverse treatment because of the action committed in the past by other members of the same race, color, sex, or national origin. So more or less, this bill is saying, like, no matter your race, no matter if you're black, white, or whatever, that people should not make you feel guilty based upon characteristics that you're not born with. Yet for some strange reason, that article says that it wants, white people to not have hurt feelings. And that's not true. That's not true in the slightest. What is also not true is that critical race theory is somehow history. Like, dude, how many times we have to say critical race theory is not history at this point? It makes no sense to argue that because critical race theory is the idea that America was rooted in, systemic racism, and at this very foundation is, of course, whiteness. And in order to destroy whiteness in society, you must dismantle all institutions from whiteness. In other words, not have, of course, any sort of white representations in a lot of whole entire thing. So that's crazy, man. That is really crazy. Will Smith called it the truth theory. No, it's not truth at all. That is the opposite of truth. That is the opposite of truth. Because if you're gonna go after white people in positions of power because they're not diverse enough, first of all, it's so strange to me because the idea of wanting to work hard and do some sort of effort is the idea of equality of opportunity, because the equality of opportunity tells people you should not be judged based upon your race, based upon your sex or whatever, and actually of course be judged based upon your merit, whereas CRT is the opposite of that. It says that your characteristic is white, and so therefore you cannot face discrimination in society, and so little by little we should replace the whole entire system of whiteness to make it more, of course, diverse by force and not by merit. It's crazy, man. Insanely crazy. And not just that, though, but the idea of white privilege comes directly from CRT. And so a lot of stuff for white privilege is being taught in schools. Many people say it's not being taught in school, but it actually is being taught in schools. And so I'm not, really positive about what's going on in the country. Not positive at all. But anyway, that's the whole entire live stream, guys. That's the news I wanted to cover. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, guys, I'll see you guys in the next live stream. Take care.